Welcome to another episode of Sanford Says. My name is Lisa Holder, Communications Officer for the City of Sanford, and your host for Sanford Says. Today we have a great topic and two really awesome guests with us. Our topic is all things film in Sanford. And we have Lindsay Sandrin, who is the Director of the Orlando Film Commission, and Alan Levy, who is a location scout and manager. Welcome to Sanford.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. So we know that the city of Sanford and Sanford, Florida in general is a great attraction for the film industry. And we'd like to just learn more about the process behind that, how you permit yourself to be part of, to film here in general. And Alan, how people find out about Sanford. These are productions that actually originate across the country, I would imagine. So, and we do the film permitting process through the city of Sanford. We partner with the Orlando Film Commission. But let's hear more about the background. Actually, but first, I'd like to ask the two of you, personally, Lindsay, what's your favorite place to go or thing to do in the city of Sanford?
Yeah, I have two small kids, so I'm going to have to say the zoo.
Okay.
I love the zoo. My kids love everything about that zoo and just how interactive it is and all the animals there. It's really fun to take them there.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Fun is it? No matter what age, actually.
Yeah, it's true.
Really
Very
fun
true.
to go to the zoo. And Alan, what about you? You're a location scout, so you know the ins and outs of Sanford.
Well, you
I bet.
asked about personal stuff.
Yes.
So going back 25 years, I've been here a long time. My wife was the education director at the zoo for over 20 years.
Okay.
So I've been around the area for a very long time. But as far as Sanford right now, if I may do some product placement, Magpies. I never drive here. I never fail to stop and buy a T-shirt or some socks at Magpies.
Okay, well, great.
I'm sure McGuire would be happy to hear that.
That's a great retail spot, too. And by the way, you can pick up a Sanford T-shirt at the Sanford Information Center now. We have a city store over there right across the street from Magpies.
Oh,
yeah.
fun.
Yep. So stop in there. So, all right. Well, let's get to this. So, all things film in Sanford. Lindsay, the Film Commission, Orlando Film Commission, what's its purpose and what is the partnership with the city of Sanford for?
Yeah, so the Orlando Film Commission is in charge of overseeing essentially the production industry in the Orlando region. So we oversee productions of any size, that come and film in Orange, Seminole, Osceola counties. And we also permit for every production within those counties. So we partner with the counties and the cities like Sanford to ensure that all productions are properly permitted. They have all of the appropriate permissions, all of the appropriate insurance, which is very important, and really ensure the safety not only of the productions but for the cities and counties. So we're kind of the liaison between the two where we protect both entities. I don't approve or deny anything. I just facilitate. Some people think that I approve. I do not. And so that's really our main function. We also have a cast and crew database so productions can come in and look online. It's completely free. Also coordinates and links to the state film database. So anybody that comes to the state that is looking for crew or support services, a support service is like catering or a production company, they can find that in our database. And we also have a locations directory, which is how a lot of people find Sanford, where we have a number of locations. Of course, it's impossible to have them all in the directory, but we have locations that are featured there so people can get an idea of the locations that are available across the region, and they come to us for questions about those locations and information on filming there or permitting there.
Right, and so when people call the city and they say they'd like to film, say for instance, on the Riverwalk or at the Civic Center or something like that, and they may not know that they have to go through the Film Commission, we share that with them and we provide them with your contact information. And then the process begins, right?
Yep.
But behind the scenes, before that happens, Alan is snooping around the city. I don't know.
This is what happens. I'll start at the beginning.
Okay.
All right. About 2 weeks before a commercial needs to film, it all happens very quickly. An advertising agency or a production company will contact me with a script or an idea. And if that idea matches the vision, matches the look of what Sanford has to offer, I will offer Sanford as a possibility. And after all these years, I have many pictures on file of homes and businesses and parks all over the Sanford area. I'll share some of those pictures, and then they'll agree with me, yes, go look further in Sanford, or take new, fresh pictures of Sanford. So I come here, and I take all new pictures and show it to them, and they almost always agree that Sanford is the spot to film. Sanford is attractive to filmmakers because, well, first of all, the entire area is attractive to filmmakers because we have crew, and we have the equipment, and Sanford and Central Florida does not look tropical. It looks like generic America. It looks like small town Michigan or Ohio, but you can film those areas all winter long.
So that's very
year
important.
round.
Yeah, I will say, and Alan reminded me that the majority of filming that's done currently in the region is commercials. We have a huge commercial industry.
Oh, thank you.
It's not television or film, mainly because we don't have a film incentive, which is a whole other topic. But commercials don't necessarily need that. So they are excited to come here because, like Alan said, especially in January, February, March, which has traditionally been our busiest season, they can come here and film green grass and oak trees and film a park, and they can air that commercial in Ohio and no one knows any different because it looks like it could belong there.
And like you said, I like that terminology you said, America.
Anywhere America.
Anywhere
Yeah.
America.
Mm-hmm.
It's a phrase we use.
Yeah, and the region has a decades-long history of filming specifically for that reason. Now, I will say in the past few years, I've been with the Film Commission for 7 years, and I want to say for the past 5, there really hasn't been a busy season, quote unquote. I'm using air quotes, you can't see that. There hasn't been a busy
We
season.
can't see your fingers.
I know, sorry. There hasn't been a traditional busy season. It, of course, gets busier in January, February, March, but it really has stayed busy year-round in the region. And I think that's because we have such amazing crew like Alan and our location managers, and such a knowledgeable crew base here and experienced crew base, which is really important.
Right, and so that whole partnership, and we'll get to the permitting side of it, is sort of baked into this whole process where your production people understand that they have to be permanent, most of them. And what size productions are we talking about typically that come here? And what are the benefits of actually filming in the city? I'm sure the city benefits economically from bringing these productions to the city.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of crew size, you can do anything from, I would say the smallest commercial would probably be what, Alan? 25? Oh, look at us. Yeah. And then you get into a TV show that would come in, like The Right Stuff that was here, that had hundreds of crew on site. Right. So it really can run the gamut anywhere in between there. And then in terms of the city profiting economically from it, there are no permitting fees that the city imposes, which is a benefit in itself. But the city does benefit by officer hirings. Restaurants are used for catering, all kinds of things. I mean, local people are paid as extras, actors, all of that stuff. Yeah. So you get, what am I missing?
Well, you got it. The homeowners. The
homeowners,
profits,
yes.
The neighbors profit.
Yes.
You said the police.
Right.
We definitely always use the local restaurants.
Right.
Yeah.
They're lined up and ready and delicious.
Right. And when we do street closures, when it's necessary, there's some costs to that.
Yes, exactly. For public works, all kinds of stuff. So I know sometimes it can be a little bit, not inconvenient for people if a street is closed or if they can't walk on a sidewalk. But I think what's really important for people to know is that there is a really good economic impact from the commercials.
I love the Civic Center, which is a rental.
Right.
Yeah.
True. And so speaking of what you love, what are some sites that you really particularly, Ellen? I mean, I know the homes in the residential areas have such a unique variety, correct? But also
visually the most attractive area, what draws people in is Magnolia Square. It's the clock, It's that classic town square feel.
Right.
It's ready-made for gorgeous visuals. And
Sure.
you look, in 2 seconds, that visual says, we're in small town America, or we're in cute America, right? It doesn't take much to establish it. And anywhere you put a camera in that square, you're good.
Wonderful. And I guess that's what people want, is to show, sounds like, everyday America in their commercials and their productions now. And what type of productions have come through lately? There, or not type, but commercial. I know you said commercials, but there has been some other big name productions that have filmed in the city, right?
Yeah, I'll say recently, the biggest one that's come through is The Right Stuff, which was a television series that aired on Disney Plus. It was for Nat Geo. It was around The Right Stuff, the movie and the book from the 80s. And unfortunately, it wasn't renewed for season 2, but it was beautifully done all across the Orlando region in some very interesting locations. If you watch it, you'll be able to recognize things, and it's pretty cool what they did with them.
Yeah, I think they were here for 6 months, maybe, or
They were here. Yeah, they filmed for about 6 months, but pre-production and post-production, you add a couple months onto the front and back of that. So, yeah,
Right.
and in about 6 months, I mean, they dropped tens of millions of dollars in 6 months. So there aren't a lot of industries that do that kind of economic, or have that kind of economic impact in such a short amount of time. Sure, you have businesses that locate traditional economic development, and they will, over the course of 10 years, have a capital investment of $40 million. But in 6 months, this show came in, and I will say that is money that was spent across the region. So, and they actually did film really in all across our jurisdiction, every corner of the area that we cover. So yeah, that was the biggest one. And it's still on Disney Plus. You can go watch it. We've also seen some really great commercials recently. There've been a few Disney commercials which come in for a day or two and drop a few $100,000 into the economy. Again, I can't say that all went to Sanford, because that is from crew from across the region,
Right.
all kinds of stuff. But Sanford did get a piece of that. Marco's Pizza, Alan did that one.
That was wonderful. Thank you for allowing us to film on the street.
Yeah, that
Rolling
was
our car
Yep.
around and around.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we can turn into a Hollywood lot when you need to.
Exactly.
But I mean, and we can talk about the permissions and the processes, because we do have you go door to door to the businesses and all of that, so
Let
they
me
are
say
well
this,
aware.
that
Yeah.
I have a very short time frame between the time they tell me they want to film the commercial and the shoot date. So I have to go to places that I know will be friendly, right? So they wanted rolling shots through a retail area, through a small town, or somewhere where they could roll this car and see storefronts in the background. And I knew that Sanford would be open to it. So I didn't have a lot of pressure to go to many other regions. I thought, focused on Sanford, they saw the pictures of Sanford, it was almost a done deal.
Yeah.
Because I knew that this town is just super friendly.
Film friendly, yeah.
Yeah,
friendly.
very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for that, Ellen. And so about the permitting process, I think it'd be interesting to notate how that happens, and that process really is summarized.
Sure. So, like you said, production most of the time will come to you first. A lot of the time will come to the city first, any city, and ask about filming. And most of the time everybody just says, go talk to Lindsay. And so then they come to me, and I walk them through all of the requirements for Sanford specifically. So there's a permitting application form where everybody inputs all of their information, and you can attach. Now that it's all done digitally, it's actually very helpful. So you can send maps, addendums, anything that's required. And then I also walk them through the insurance requirements, which are very important. Again, important to protect the city and the production. So some people get a little upset that mainly small, independent filmmakers aren't too keen on the insurance requirements. But I have to remind them that it's not the city's requirement to protect themselves. It's also important in filmmaking in general to have insurance to protect yourself as a filmmaker. So each jurisdiction, Sanford included, has their own requirements in terms of permitting and insurance. So I walk them through that, and I tell them it takes about 5 business days from when I receive all the final documentation to process a permit. So that means once they submit everything and I look at it and I confirm I have everything, it's 5 days from that moment. not from Lindsay, I sent you an email with all of the things and it didn't have all the documents and we've gone back and forth. Anyways, so 5 business days, and I review everything. I just, from 7 years of working in this position, know the questions to ask and make sure that we have everything lined up, make sure that if there is any effect on pedestrian or vehicular traffic, that's noted. If there's any request for officers, that's noted in there. Basically everything you can think of. Porta potties, like literally everything. And I send it over to you, Lisa, and then you send it out to a number of parties in the city, including fire, police, public works. Who am I missing?
Code enforcement.
Yep.
And we have our risk management, which is HR.
Yep.
They check over the insurance certificates.
Parks if needed.
Right.
All of that. And then, we go back and forth with any questions you may have, you being the city. And then once I have all of the approvals, then the permit is approved and I send it back to the production.
Yeah. And then everyone's happy and they can film their production and then have a wonderful time. And so... And we here, when we get these permits at the city, we definitely try to expedite that, and because we do know, with respect to our schedules and time frames and all of that, we definitely work with the film world and film industry, because we do know that, like you said, you mentioned this several times, Ellen, it's for some reason, I guess, last minute. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But they, that's how that industry operates, and that's fine. And then you mix that with government, but we're making it work.
Yes.
And we return things around. Typically, we've done it pretty quickly in the last few, like within 24 hours.
I will say, you guys have been the fastest in the region for me recently. So
I feel like
you can hold that record.
Like a cape for us or something.
I'll get you a plaque.
Okay. Well, good. And then we continue to want to serve and be available, and so we can get business rolling here in the city of Sanford and continue to have the film companies come in and feel welcome. And our now, I know our businesses, our downtown merchants are very welcoming to the film crews all the time, to the location scouts. And
absolutely.
So,
it's amazing. It's unprecedented, actually.
Yeah, and so
we
have
do this in other cities. You find people are resistant.
You don't have to whisper.
Years.
You can.
It's not a secret. I got it.
It's not going to be a secret, Ellen.
The residents, the businesses of Sanford, never hesitant, just welcoming. It's unprecedented.
Now, that's a wonderful compliment to say and to share with us and our listeners. So, if somebody, say for instance, wanted to share photography of a potential location, can they do that, or does there have to be some criteria? To reach out to you, Lindsay, or how would that work? Because you said you have a website, which is,
it's filmorlando.com is our website for just the General Film Commission. And if someone has a location and they want it listed in our database, they can absolutely just email me. Technically, there's a form online. It's easier to just email me. My email's on the website.
Okay.
And what I'll do is collect photos and location descriptions, post that to our website. And typically what I do now is I have like an email group for all the location scouts and managers, and I'll just shoot out a quick email, say, hey everybody, such and such location just added, making sure it's on your radar. Now I will say there's no guarantee that being in our database that you will get chosen.
Right.
Most of the time, by the time I get requests for permitting, locations have already been chosen. So there's only a certain number of projects that I can even kind of hit at the right time to get locations in front of them.
Yeah.
That's why I always make sure that the location managers and scouts have all of the information for locations that I'm aware of. And honestly, they have locations that I'm not aware of, because they also, which is so wonderful, the location scouts and managers are so important for protecting our local locations. So I know Alan has his own database of locations that really are just his. And all the scouts and managers work very, very well together, but they all know that they kind of have their own listings in their own right. Is that fair to say? Where the homeowner has a really, really great working relationship with Alan and trusts Alan implicitly. And so such and such home is only going to be worked by Alan.
I see.
And so I don't even list that in the location directory because I get a lot of requests from independent filmmakers, student filmmakers. I'm not trying to knock those people, but those are the types of projects that I know certain locations, like I just mentioned, that would only trust Alan, wouldn't want that kind of production in there. They want the higher caliber commercial in their home.
And that's because you're taking over someone's home for the
Yes.
production. You want to say something?
Handing me the keys to
Exactly.
the home
That's right.
and being put in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So I am in charge of that house.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that happens in it for 2 days. All their personal belongings.
Right, so that's
Locking it up.
and that
making sure
does
it's protected.
Yeah,
So it's a
speak
very
to
special
that.
relationship we have with certain homeowners who open up their homes again and again for us.
Right.
And sorry.
No, go ahead.
I do tell people too, sometimes they ask me, homeowners will ask me, what does it mean if someone comes and films? What would that mean for me as the homeowner? Like, well, I'll tell you this. You could have a commercial that wants to just do standard, interviews in your living room and they leave everything as is. They come in, maybe they'll bring a chair, maybe they'll use your dining room chair, and it's a small crew. They'll leave everything exactly as you left it, and that's it. Or you could have a company that comes in, takes out every single piece of your furniture, paints your entire house inside and out, and brings in new furniture, then moves that new furniture out, brings or if we're going in the real order of things, repaints everything back the way it was, and then brings in your furniture. Like, so that's the two extremes.
Sure.
And then I've had people like dig up people's front yards before and all kinds of stuff. So there is a huge spectrum of what the possibilities are if someone uses your location. And it also comes down to what someone's comfortable with. So
Exactly. Yes. And so there's a lot of different architecture here too, which I would imagine in the residential areas. You have the mid-century modern, you have the historic homes, and that's a nice flavor to offer, I would imagine. And we have the downtown and the water, right, Ellen? I mean, so there's a lot of choices in one particular city, municipality, where you can maybe satisfy a lot of different needs from a production. I don't know.
Sure,
Or
you
choices.
have
absolutely.
Countless gorgeous restored 2-story colonials. And
That's famous. I guess that's not famous, but that's a want in the industry.
Yes, because that's the kind of architecture you find in it's the kind of architecture you find in every city. And it just suggests America and nostalgia.
Right.
It's
And
the
that's
kind of home that we all dream we live in.
right. And that's what the marketing industry is looking to depict, I would imagine, in their commercials, giving that feeling, right?
Absolutely.
Of hometown America. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now let me ask you this. So what is the criteria? You speak of there's two different ranges of production. What's the criteria for film permit? Can someone, when would they reach out to you versus, in the city we're allowing them or permitting them to just be able to go out there and a couple people kind of do a independent film or a college project or something like that. What's the criteria to reach out to the Film Commission? Are there numbers that you have to meet? Please share that.
Yeah, so specific to Sanford, and this is all in, what's it called? Code. What is that called? Like
The
county ordinances. There it is. Thank you.
That's why I work for government.
It's all in the city ordinances. So for Sanford specifically, anything you kind of equate it to anything over what a tourist family would bring in, you need a permit for. So anything involving more than 3 people on public property requires a permit. Now, I will say there are times when you could be filming on private property and you won't need a permit. There are times when you're filming on private property and you will still need a permit. If you're filming entirely on private property, but you want to park your vehicles on the street or you're requesting parking on the street, anything like that, I say to still get a permit. Again, permits are free. It's really just the time it takes to do it if they're properly insured. So I always err on the side of being over-prepared for things like that. Now, if it's a small production, they're parking entirely on private property, there are no weapons or stunts or pyro or anything crazy like that involved, then a permit isn't required. But we do, as the Film Commission, try and collect as much economic data as possible. So even if they don't need a permit, I still record that information because they could, even if they're putting $500 into the economy, I want to record it as a production day, and I want that $500 in my database. They can also be doing, like, we have studios across the region that, again, they don't need permitting for, but I try and capture that data as well because that's a big economic impact data. So,
well, thank you. Thanks for doing all that, so we can help film in Sanford. Ellen, is there anything that you'd like to share? You're looking very interested in what everyone's saying. This is your world. You live this also, like Lindsay, every single day. We get film permits. I would say it's been like probably at least once a month.
You guys have been very busy this year, and I do have, Alan, do you have anything you want to share before I dive into the numbers? No. You guys have been busy this year. I will say that. So I brought with me some numbers starting with calendar year 2018, and the permitting numbers for Sanford have just continued to increase. Now, of course, 2020 was a little bit off of a year, but in 2018, you had 7 projects. Now, there's a difference between projects and permits. So when I say a project, that could be, let's call it a Disney commercial. That's a project. The number of permits in this case, so there were 7 projects and 8 permits. That means one of those projects had 2 permits.
Gotcha.
And 11 days of production. And those together in 2018, those projects totaled over $250,000 in economic impact. Again, that's to the region, not specific to Sanford, but Sanford got a big chunk of it.
Yeah.
In 2019, that increased to 18 projects, so over double what 2018 saw. And I will say this was the year The Right Stuff filmed over $43 million of economic impact. 18 projects, 22 permits, over $43 million in 2019. Now in 2020, again, the pandemic came through. The Orlando region actually did really well with production, even despite the pandemic. We had, I think May 1st was the first commercial that came back. Alan and I are laughing because it was a very interesting time. And 2020, Sanford saw 10 projects and over $1.5 million in spend, and that was in a pandemic. And then 2021 already, 6 months in, you have 13 projects and nearly $2.5 million in economic impact. So
good to hear.
Yeah, you guys have been very busy recently. But I will say, I think
back to what you said, once a month at least.
Yeah.
Well, clearly 13 permits, so.
Sure. Well, this is, really great data and information. This has been very enlightening. I hope our listeners have learned something new about film in Sanford. It's something that maybe will fly under the radar unless you're in the industry and you see, okay, what are they doing downtown? Why are the streets closed and there's cameras out everywhere? Well, Sanford does submit permits and actually approve them for the film industry, and we are a very film-friendly city, and that's one of the responsibilities of municipalities to approve permits, I should say.
Yep.
And so really welcome more film in our city, and looking forward to just another really productive year. Ellen, any last words?
No, I'm good. I'm just appreciative for the city. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Ellen, taking time out of your busy day. And Lindsay, last words?
I will say just be ready when you have the hotel down here ready to go, then that really will bring more production, because productions really like to stay very close to where they're filming. So
that's coming. So
it's coming.
Yes, yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, both of you, for coming to Sanford and sharing this great information. This is Lisa Holder, Communications Officer for the City of Sanford and host for Sanford Says. You can find this podcast wherever you subscribe to your favorite podcast, and the city website at sanfordfl.gov. Thanks for being here, and thanks for listening. Have a great day. Until next time, bye.